dabble with aliens. Now meet the genuine article.
The Genuine Article, a Doctor Who podcast by James Sumner. Episode 2, The Star Beast. With an old face and a new lease on life, the 14th Doctor returns to Earth, seemingly in close proximity to former companion Donna Noble. Those who remember the end of the 10th Doctor's adventures know that this can't be a good thing. This is the first of 3 60th anniversary specials, and promises to be a revitalization for the franchise. Will this loose adaptation of an old comic be enough to convert new Who viewers, or even be enough to redeem the show in the eyes of long-term Whovians? Me and Marcus will discuss that now.
Hello, everybody.
It's time. We're back.
We're back.
Week 2.
Week 2.
We haven't skipped a beat.
My heart skipped a beat.
Twice, because
When
we've got
I-
2 hearts.
JLS.
My heart skipped a beat when that episode started,
Very true. Very true.
and I got to hear that lovely theme song.
Okay, so let's start with non-spoiler thoughts. How did we feel about the episode in general? Nice vagaries, please, before we move into the spoilerific areas.
Fun, silly, fun time.
Fun, silly, fun time.
I would describe myself as delighted.
Delighted.
Yes.
Only delighted, nothing more.
Delight is the correct word. I just felt delighted.
Brilliant. I thought it was a nice return to normality.
Yep.
It wasn't an amazing episode of Who, but it was a damn sight better than the slop we've got for a very, very long time. I think some of it was a bit sloppy on the writing front. Very sloppy, and we'll go into what exactly was the sloppiest of the toppiest later. But I think on the most part it was pretty fun. I like it was the plot we kind of knew already from the original Beep the Meep comic from the 1970s.
Mm-hmm.
We weren't no surprises there.
It goes at one hell of a pace, doesn't it? The way that literally 2 minutes in we see our spaceship crash. You know what I mean? That's wonderful. Because like, and one thing that I really loved was how just right at the opening, it just goes, hey, listen, we don't need this grand reintroduction to the show. We're just back.
To be fair, we did get a grand reintroduction to the show.
Oh
which
my
was
God,
David
I
Tennant
forgot.
stood in a void on a terrible green screen, recapping everything that happened with David and Donna.
Which, by the way, to anybody watching, rewatch it and look around his his calf level, and you can see the edge of the green screen behind him and a bit where it's ruffled up.
Oh no!
You genuinely, you can see the background, like the ruffly bit of the green screen, which was very rough. That was clearly done in 10 minutes for the Disney Plus audience, and it should not have been on the BBC TV screen.
It was so
ever.
out of place.
Absolutely
It reminded
awful.
me of the opening they made for the 11th Doctor, where Amy Pond would begin it for BBC America. It's like, oh,
Because
a
when I
magical
was a
man
child,
came
I
to
met
me.
a magical man, and he whisked me away on an adventure.
It reminds Lemmy was working at BBC America at that point.
It really is like shockingly embarrassing, and no matter what else you think about like the sloppiness of the rest of the episode, that for me was the lowest point.
Yeah.
And then it immediately just went, bam, we're up from there.
Yeah,
And we're off.
I think all of the most negative thoughts I had about the episode were at the beginning of like how zooming in it went, and like it just got on with stuff, and that I didn't love. But I think as it got on with it, I enjoyed the actual episode itself.
Yeah.
More than the beginning.
It is a complete and utter, like, no frills, no nonsense, clean episode until a certain point. But I don't know. Delightful for me is the word for it. I just think that charm that it has, the campiness is back in spadefuls. I think the lack of seriousness around itself, even the stuff that is more serious that it presents. It just presents kind of like wholeheartedly and sincerely and without any sense of irony. And its sincerity is almost its downfall in certain ways. But god damn it, am I really happy for sincerity after like kind of the apathy of Doctor Who over the past few years, where it feels as if there's just not any heart in it. To have Doctor Who, which feels like it was written by a person again, is really lovely, as opposed to written by an AI. Warts and all, it feels like Russel T Davis.
It's Russel T Davis for all of his regular problems and his regular strengths of it being
Yeah.
very much about people, and the sci-fi makes very little sense, and he doesn't really care. He'd rather tell a fun story than a good story.
Absolutely.
It's what we
Absolutely.
love.
You said, Zeenat, that you said you found it a bit too silly,
It feels like it was made for children.
which
Yes.
it was.
Yeah, he did mention that, didn't he, when he was...
It was for families.
Yeah, for the
Yeah.
families.
One for
It was
the
very
family.
enjoyable if you just take it how it is. Just have fun. Don't think too deep into it. It's just a jolly time.
You can try and think deep into it, but there ain't nothing there.
Yeah, that's like shoving your finger into an Easter egg.
Except if you look about the gender politics of it, which there is quite a lot of. Like,
There is
it
a
was
lot.
more. I was told that this episode was talked about gender themes, and by that I didn't think they would go this deep into it. I thought they would just have Rose, who is a trans character. I thought that would be like the extent of it talking about gender themes, the fact that she exists. But they actually go into it quite. They even talk about it with Meep the Meep. They talk about it with the Doctor. Talk a lot about gender themes.
Yeah, and
Quite
I
a
mean,
lot.
as someone who is queer and as someone who is very, very invested in the themes that they were portraying, it was pretty messy. It was a bit disjointed. Again, no spoilers just yet. A bit all over the place. But I would rather have messy, interesting representation than hyper squeaky clean, boring like advert representation.
Yeah, it wasn't putting a rainbow in the Santander window.
No,
like
it
on
was-
for Pride Month. They actually tried to talk about trans themes, and they did a pretty okay job at lots of times.
Yes, except for literally, I would say, a minute's worth of content in the episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, which
The
we'll talk
other
about more in the
stuff-
spoiler section.
Yeah, the other stuff, like, again, it's not really a spoiler to say that, you know, they acknowledge Rose's transness within the family dynamic. And I thought that was done really beautifully and wholesomely. And there were several points during that, especially with interactions between Rose and Donna, where I felt myself choking up. I thought it was really beautiful. You know, just seeing a character that I love in the modern day being supportive of a community that I'm a part of. It's just so lovely and adorable. And again, the later stuff where things get a little confusing.
When it got a bit too sci-fi with it.
Yes, that is when it gets a little too bizarre.
Yeah.
Again, I really like the idea of bringing kind of like fantastical science fiction concepts and queerness together. I think so many things have done that so well, like Sense8,
Oh, yes.
incredible. I think that Russel T Davis is just maybe... He does that brilliantly with a lot of aspects of queerness in Doctor Who in the past, you know?
Yeah, like
And
Jack.
he did it here, like he did
Yeah,
it well here.
it's just very clear that he is a middle-aged man who wrote this script on his own and maybe, just maybe, could have got someone to read it first and go, hey, is this how it works?
Let's slip into spoilers, yeah.
Okay, cool. And then we'll talk about the Meep in a minute.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I was going to say, let's talk about the Meep first. Let's go back to the actual plot of the episode.
Okay.
The Meep, an adorable ET. We're going to try and get it home. Oh no, the Meep is an intergalactic
Warlord.
warlord slash mass murderer.
Which...
Gone mad by a psychedelic sun.
Gone wrong.
Gone twisted.
Gone twisted.
No, I didn't know a thing about the Meep. I'd never even heard of the Meep before. I fell in love with it when I saw
Yeah.
it, even though I have a phobia of puppets, so it was a little bit freaky to me at first. But I was like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, this thing is so cute. I
Yeah.
love it so much. It thinks that the cuddly toy is a friend.
Yeah.
That's so sweet. And then the twist happens, and it kind of morphs into this horrific little thing. And I was like, oh my gosh, what is going on?
Well, you know me. I love two things in this world. One of the things that I love most is a little critter.
A little gremlin.
Right? I love a little critter.
A little gremlin.
A little dibby. I love a little fella, right? One of my favorite things in the world. The one thing that I love more than that, an evil little fella.
Yeah.
Oh my god, when those eyes contort into that look of rage and those teeth come out, that was I can't tell you the amount of dopamine that rushed through my system when I saw that little toothy grin. I was so happy I couldn't even explain the joy that I was feeling. I love that fuzzy little Satan. I love that little thing so much.
It's so good. And I think obviously me and you, Marcus, we've seen the old comic. We know the Meep. He's an old character from the 1970s. We knew this little rat man was going to turn into a fiend.
Yeah.
But Zeenat, it was so fun watching it with Zeenat because she did not know that the little Meep was going to go on a mental spree.
Yeah.
And getting to see your face when the Meep went, "Enough of this!" and pulled out a little pistola.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Absolute heaven.
It was hilarious. It was like I half guessed it, didn't I? Just
Yeah.
before it was revealed, I was
You were
like,
like, wouldn't it be
oh,
funny?
I think it would be funny if
Yeah.
Meep was evil. You two are silent.
Because you said, wouldn't it be funny if?
Yeah, I was so happy when it was.
And we just couldn't say a word because we were like, I can't wait to just watch you watch this in a second.
You thought he might not be nice, but did you think he was going to pull out a Glock?
I don't know where he kept it,
His pocket.
but I
It
don't
is-
want to know.
It's bigger on the inside.
Oh, Pete do.
Hey.
But no, it just absolutely blissful. And for me, that is what kind of like popular sci-fi action adventure is all about. It's about those wonderful moments.
What do we think of the new opening? And what do we think of the new Tardis? And what do we think of the new Sonic? The three standards of Doctor Who.
Okay, can I go first?
You can go first.
Sonic does a little too much. I think we agree. It does a little too many things.
I disagree.
Really?
I think the Sonic is so overpowered
Yeah.
and so vague and so nebulous and fixes so many episodes for no particular reason.
But now they're giving it a particular thing that it can do.
And I appreciate them doing something with it. Although I think that's another problem I have with him already having it. I would have liked to see him talk about the fact that it can do... Like, maybe just have a line from Donna being like, I never used to do all that.
Yeah.
Maybe like, oh yeah, got an upgrade. But that's the kind of thing we
Yeah.
can't do when Donna has no memory, which is why I'm more excited for next week
Yeah.
when Donna is actually a person to talk to. Then what did you think of the Sonic?
I kind of think back to my childhood, and I know that me and Marcus, we used to have our own sonic screwdrivers.
Yes.
And I just think because this new screwdriver does, it makes a screen, it makes a force field. It's not going to feel as magic for children when they buy
Can't
that
do it.
sonic screwdriver.
And
It doesn't
those
do
things.
anything
I
that it does in
suppose
the
that's
show.
a good point because the toy has always basically been as good as the prop. Because all
The,
it is
the
a
toy has been the prop if you buy a nice enough one.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Always.
So I don't like that.
That's a good point.
That's a really good point.
liked when, like, back with old David Tennant and old Matt Smith, when they were doing the quirky little things, when they were listening to it, when it wasn't something that we could see. I liked that. It felt more special.
You lean into what the doctor's saying more. 'cause you
Yeah,
can't see
exactly.
it.
It feels more mysterious, which is what the Doctor is. So having him make a screen just feels like it's doing some sort of Star Trekky thing. It
It
doesn't.
was a bit Star Trek.
Yeah, it
More
doesn't
actually a bit
feel
Star
Doctor
Wars.
Who-y.
Yeah.
That's fair enough. And again, it's a change. I just don't want them to keep it like this.
Yeah.
When Shooty gets a screwdriver, I want a good old screwdriver that opens doors
Yeah.
and hacks
Resonates
machines.
concrete.
Resonates concrete.
Yeah,
That was
I didn't.
good.
I didn't mind that. I
That
liked
was,
that.
that was quite charming.
I do appreciate that it took him ages to make that screen.
Yes.
He cannot do it quick. It
Yeah,
took
he
him
has to.
He had a good...
It's like a chalkboard.
Yeah,
you know
he
what I
had to-
mean? He has to set it up.
And I think as
Yeah.
long as they limit it in that way of like... He has to
Yeah.
take him a good long while to do it. And
Yeah.
I'm not saying that I agree that it makes the toys worse. That's a really good point I hadn't thought of.
Mm.
I'm not saying that I want the Sonic to be Magic Super Wand.
Yeah.
But I would much rather the Sonic look interesting whilst it saves the day, rather than I press the button and I win. Because that is the way that weak episodes of Doctor Who are resolved,
Yeah.
is that they press the light buzzes, and then he wins the episode. Especially we just watched The Power of
Yeah,
Three
we
the
just
other
watched
day,
it last night.
and he just presses
Shocking.
it and he takes over the world.
Yeah.
So I think, I'm just saying, if we're going to have the Sonic be overpowered, let's have it be really overpowered.
Yeah.
I don't, go to the moon, I don't care.
Can we talk about the intro? Because I think we have different
Yes.
thoughts on the intro.
It's kind of a bit much for me.
Yeah, you thought it was a bit
The
excessive.
skating is it? I think after the skating, I'm in. You know, when it's like plummeting into that sort of cloud cavern with the interesting shots. It's the first time we've ever had multiple shots, like cut
Yeah,
shots of the
yeah.
Tardis. It looks wrong to me, but in like a good way.
Yeah.
I feel like it looks very. This is a special. I'm not sure if it fits for everyday TV like with Shooty. I wonder if they'll give him something else, but I feel like. It's very nice, but it's almost too nice. It's like a fan who's made a fan project and he's gone like
It's so clean,
mental with
yeah.
it. He's like, I can
Yeah.
do the spin effect.
Yeah.
I can do a cut here. It's gonna
Yeah.
look crazy.
It feels like the intro for like the new Doctor Who movie. You know what I mean? Something
Yes.
like that.
That's
It's
why I'm
so
saying
big,
it fits these
yeah.
specials, but I
Yeah.
don't know if it fits
Yeah.
the thing.
Which I don't know. For me, it was so exciting because of that. And again, like maybe that's just for the specials, you know, that excitement. And those multiple shots, it's a change, you know.
It's just the skating that gets me though, 'cause and the logo doesn't fit it. The logo is so blue. And
everything else
flat
is like
PNG,
yellow and
it's yellows
pink
and golds and
everything,
lightning, and then the dirty blue logo comes in at the end.
Yeah.
It was
So
just,
pretty.
Oh, it was so like
It
satisfying.
looked like an
to
ice
look at.
lolly.
It did.
I was thinking of a big cake, like a velvety cake
Yeah.
with gold
Ooh,
trim.
yeah. You just wanted to like take a scoop and eat it. I
It's a
loved that.
confectionery.
When the TARDIS started skating on clouds, I wanted to scream in like with glee. It was so dumb, but
Yeah.
I like dumbness.
But yeah.
And what about the TARDIS interior?
Oh,
I loved it. It
I'd
was
say-
massive.
I think it's almost too big.
No,
'Cause
I love
if it's
it.
going to be but think about every week, one companion and one doctor in that enormous room. Like, Shooty, you're going to be like, where is he squinting down?
you know what I'd really like.
Yeah.
And I remember hearing a rumor that they might do this, like what are they called? Like tokens and memorabilia from the adventures coming into.
You mean
the
like he
time.
wants to do the Batman cave? I was thinking
Yeah.
of the Batman cave with the
Yeah.
big penny.
I can imagine that being filled up over time with like when you look and there's like a chair from that adventure, or like over there's just a fireplace from that camp they were at one time when there was an episode set in a spooky 80s American summer camp or something. I could imagine that. Like that space being filled up with all that stuff, and I'd really love that. I remember in the concept art there was a jukebox.
You can see a lot of the doors this time in the TARDIS.
Yeah.
I'm hoping we get to see some other rooms.
I hope so.
Because
I think
some-
we have to get the wardrobe. They've got to bring the wardrobe
Oh,
back.
the wardrobe.
Especially with Shooty's insane collection of fits that we've seen.
Oh,
they're
my
glorious.
god, the outfits on that man, beautiful outfits.
Oh, speaking of the outfits, he wears, is it a 50s or 60s sort of gear?
What, you mean Tennant in this?
No,
Shooties.
Shooty. Well,
Are you
mean his
talking about
pinstripe?
the blue one?
yes. So
Yeah.
if there's something about an old jukebox,
Oh
Maybe
yeah.
maybe the two are connected.
Very
Well, thingy, the coffee machine reminded me of the custard cream dispenser that
Yeah,
Jodie
yeah.
had.
Oh, and she used only once, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Oh, why would you not use
She used
that?
it
It's
once
in some
for
of the
5
books,
seconds.
I think. I think in the books it gives her a hobnob.
Nice.
Oh, I could use that.
I'm assuming the coffee machine is David's funny little thing. So
Yeah.
maybe the jukebox is Shooty's funny little thing. Like,
Yeah.
because surely they give him a separate one than David's coffee machine.
Yeah.
And people are saying that it's too kiddie and it's not like Doctor Who. It is exactly like Russell T Doctor
Yeah.
Who. I was just thinking back to
100%.
the shot where, like the scene where Rose pulls Tennant out of the TARDIS after he's regenerated.
Yeah.
And Jackie sounds like a CBeebies presenter. She's
Yeah.
like, what do you mean? Doctor Who?
Yeah.
And it's like, that is the
Yeah.
level of dialogue and acting we got today. And
100%.
Sylvia and Donna are back exactly as they
Oh
were.
my god.
I think Donna took a little bit to get back into the rhythm of it, and I think David was quite different at the beginning of the episode before he started hanging out with
Yeah.
the nobles. I think he sounded a lot posher.
Yeah, you've been mentioning his accent. You thought was a bit off
I think
kilter.
when he talks to the science officer, which is a cool new character. I hope she comes back.
Yeah, she's wonderful.
I loved her
I like her
guns.
little rocket launchers.
They were great.
Yeah.
I think he was like, well, the science of it, and he sounded more like the Third Doctor than he did himself.
Yeah, you mentioned John Pertwee.
Yeah, he sounds like John Pertwee. He's like,
Maybe I'll need to watch it again and keep an eye out for that. But yeah, I think the show takes a while because I went into it, you know, looking forward to it and everything. But I also went into it like, will they f this up? You know, and I think it took a hot minute for me to really properly feel warmed into it. You know,
especially with that cold open, like the green screen.
the green screen. It
that
was
like
rough.
it was not a good first impression.
No.
Nope.
Not at
And
all.
I didn't like David being fully formed, which is obviously something we talked about last week. I said the comics have him get his new screwdriver. The comics have his first adventure. Russell T wants these comics to be canon.
Yeah.
To make people feel like they're actually getting their money's worth of buying them. I'm not going to be too happy if he comes out of the TARDIS and has literally nothing to say about his new form, and he didn't really have anything to say about it. Like, he was just sort of, I'm here now.
There was a couple of
References.
There's a couple of like, oh, this face, which I think it's going to get brought up more and more as they go along.
It seems.
I think
it's because they wanted more, like, as
Yeah.
many viewers to be able to just tune into this one as possible.
because for a lot of people, with this being the first one on Disney Plus, this is the stepping on point, so they don't want to bog it down too much in like this, remember this.
I almost feel like that was to the whole episode's detriment. But it's resolving a big, complicated cliffhanger from last series.
By having him walk in casually.
By walking casually. And the fact that all of this is hinged on you caring about Donna. which for a lot of Americans who started with Matt Smith, they don't.
Yeah.
And so it's trying to be an easy entry point whilst also having the weirdest regeneration yet and a very, very did you watch Doctor Who in 2005 hook that you need to have done. And they kind of conflict with each other in the fact that they don't want to talk about it too much, but they also, you kind of have to talk about it a little bit.
Yeah. Well, it's lucky, I think, that they're harking, and it's very intentional that they're harking back to the most popular point in the show pre-Matt Smith. But because I feel as if, you know, America hopped on properly during Matt Smith, but in England, you know, Donna and the Doctor were the ultimate duo.
I think in England, this is an easy win. I just wonder about anywhere outside.
Yeah,
because...
which is why it's excellent that we're shooting so soon.
Yes.
You know, because that's going to be wonderful. But we won't talk about that because that's not.
These are separate on Disney Plus. In America, this is billed as Doctor Who specials.
Oh.
And it's like a separate chunk. It's not like Doctor Who Series 14, episodes 1, 2, and 3. This is just Doctor Who specials. And they're in like a separate tab.
Okay.
At least, that. Yeah. We'll see.
It's for the real ones.
For the real ones with Shuyi. I think the trans representation was pretty good. I do think it's interesting that they compared the Doctor to being non-binary. And I did think it was an interesting choice to have a whole scene about how the Doctor is neither man nor woman and is non-binary, followed by a "you wouldn't get this because you're a bloke, Doctor" scene immediately next. And I'm not saying that the scenes don't work in the grand scheme of things, but it's weird that they were so close together.
Yeah, if you stretch them a few, like 10 minutes apart. Again, so I think a fair few issues of the episode comes from things being in close proximity to each other. If the episode had more space to breathe, like, you know, Power of the Doctor was an hour 20 minutes. I feel like this could have been an hour 10, an hour 15.
Yeah.
A few extra minutes. Like 56 minutes, I think, something like that. And I feel like it just could have used a few more minutes to space things out so my brain doesn't immediately go, the Doctor is a reflection of the flexibility of gender, which is why he resonates so much, because the Doctor as a character has resonated so much with queer and trans people for 60 years now. Queer and trans people have identified with the Doctor. I know, as a kid, I identified with the Doctor more than any other character on television. You know, for the
Because he's a skinny legend.
Because he's a skinny legend, and so am I. But so I totally get it. But I think my advice, and I'm not giving advice to Russel T Davis because he's a god. Yeah.
But he is listening, so.
Dear Russell, it just needed simplified. To be honest, it is just. As someone who's part of this community, I'm confused.
As someone who's not part of that community, I'm confused.
I don't fully understand it. I understand it on an emotional level what he's going for.
Yeah.
You know, of the idea of someone... I think it's a wonderful sci-fi concept of someone who feels alien. That's actually because there is a part of that alienness in them. I think that's quite wonderful. It kind of, I don't know, again, it harkens back to me about the fact that the queerness of Doctor Who is a lot of people's introduction to queerness. You know, when I was a kid, queerness was presented to me by like the queerness of Doctor Who.
Even as a straight man who doesn't relate to the Doctor as like a queer representation piece. Yeah, if it wasn't for Captain Jack, I wouldn't know what gay people were as a kid.
Absolutely.
Like, Captain Jack was the first gay man, and he goes and kisses a fella, and I go to my dad, hey, what's that about? And that's the first time I ever knew that gay people existed.
100%.
That's 2005, what was it, like 8 or something? That was my first exposure to gay people existing.
Well, when that came out, I was bloody 4 or 5 years old, you know. A little queer kid who didn't even know that queerness was a thing, you know, growing up in the countryside. Yeah. That's wonderful. And that's
I appreciate they didn't make Sylvia like some kind of evil boomer, because they easily could have done, because that was her role in the old show. But you know, like, transphobes are in the show. Those kids that walk past and dead name her. Is that the first time I've heard dead name on like a general family show? Like, maybe Heartstopper's like a little bit. It's on a network. It's like slightly separate than normal TV, like mainstream TV.
But my God, like, dead naming is just one of those things that's like, we're so anxious with queer representation a lot of the time to just not show queer people struggling, or we show queer people struggling excessively. But it's a very real kind of like aggression that happens suddenly and goes away suddenly. I mean, I know that Yasmin Finney said that it was a very triggering day on set, because it's such a real interaction. You know, it's really upsetting.
And it's brave to do, because obviously before the episode, people have been dead naming Rose as the character. on Twitter they've been calling them Ross for like the last couple of weeks to dead name them.
Yeah.
The fact that they actually talk about dead naming in the episode and give the dead name, like that is fuel for the anti-trans people.
Yeah,
they just had to tackle it.
It's like they give you the weapon and then they're like, but by the end of the episode you're not going to use that weapon.
It's interesting. So it seems to be, and I think it maybe was meant to just be like a parallel, but it also was unclear whether they were saying that the reason that they had these, they identified as non-binary and had this like fusion of who they are as self and had such a interesting interpretation of the world and had a shed and made little monsters is because they have a little bit of the Doctor in them from the Meta Crisis.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that is,
or if the part of her that's the Doctor from the Meta Crisis and her transness are just coexisting. Binary.
Binary.
Non-binary.
What a reach.
That line, my partner, she messaged me when that line happened.
Mm-hmm.
And she messaged me, "Oh my God."
Oh no.
That was the
Because
message.
they loved it so much.
Because she was like, that is... Like, that... If that's what you're going for as well, there's better ways of doing it than having the character go, non-binary.
There's so many different...
Well, you thought you misheard it.
Yeah, because I was like, that is such a corny line.
Yeah.
And it's
So
very
corny.
Russell.
Yeah.
But I think all of that is nowhere near as corny as the male presenting Time Lord lines that came in the Zeenat, because that was weird in the context of the episode.
I wasn't the biggest fan of that.
As
Dare
the
I
only
say?
female presenting person here, and how did you feel about that?
Oh, I'm not gonna lie. My brows were furrowed. I was like, what?
My brows were
what?
furrowed.
What?
That is your classic phrase. My brows are furrowed.
Oh yeah, I say that every
My chin
day.
was scratched.
I was doing the thing.
My hoons were hooned.
Yeah, it confused the life out of me. I was like, what are they trying to
They're
say?
trying to say men could never let it go. And the issue is that the Doctor wasn't a man like a half an hour ago. And so they have to go through the whole rigmarole of going, well, you used to be a woman, but now you're a man and you need to learn to let things go. And they wrote it. They wanted to be like, as a man, you'd never learn. Just let it go. And then they wrote it. And then they read it and they were like,
Oh,
well,
wait,
actually,
he was just a woman.
so we need to actually put some context on this.
Mm-hmm.
And then we don't want to say man because we've had a whole episode about respecting genders. So, okay,
Yeah.
male presenting Time Lord. And it just becomes clunkier and clunkier,
Yeah.
like, through the edit.
The phrase male presenting Time Lord does just kind of like ruin the flow of it and make the dialogue does sound very shonky.
It doesn't roll off the tongue.
But if they were just like, well, you wouldn't get it now that you're a man again, but...
Which is
you know
still
what I
not
mean?
very in the spirit
That's
of the episode
kind
of
of
being
sexist.
all about the Doctor is non
About the fluidity of
gender doesn't
of
matter,
Time
it's
Lord
a spectrum,
identity.
and everybody
yeah.
here doesn't really care about people's
Yeah.
genders other than
Yeah.
respecting
And again,
them.
it was-
and then they go, but you're a bloke, Doctor.
And
so
again,
shut
it was
up.
supposed to just be like a funny ha-ha line.
It's a
You know
funny
what I mean?
haha line that they tried to rewrite to be as unoffensive as possible,
Yeah.
and it kind of just...
And there are moments where
Strangled.
that kind of like very kind of, you know, modern, progressive, inclusive, which is wonderful, dialogue works in its favor. Like, I think the part about the Meep's pronouns
Oh, I
is
loved it.
really, really funny.
It was so
it's just
funny.
really funny. It's a really funny line.
People have been saying that this feels like Russell's been talking to Chibnall, and this is not like the progressivisms of the Chibnall era. Because
No.
the progressivisms of the Chibnall era is just a character goes in and says, I'm non-binary, and everybody's just like, okay, thumbs up.
Yeah.
They don't talk about it. They don't have conversations about
And
it.
if they did, it would just be like, okay, I'm gonna do it now. You do the emotional. Okay, you do that. When I told my family I was non-binary, they kicked me out, and then Ryan goes, "That must have been really hard." That's what would have happened.
No, the Doctor would have been, actually, I'm a bit socially awkward. I don't really want to talk about this.
Just backs away slowly.
Actually, used to be a man, but you know.
Imagine if Donna and 13 were together, and Donna's
my
sort of
God.
like, I really want to go on adventures with you, and 13 just goes, I'm a bit socially awkward, and just walks away and just leaves it behind.
Listen, Donna and 13 would not have gotten along.
No way. They would have hated each
They would
other.
not have been enjoying each other's company at all. I think Donna would not have liked the fam in general. I think she would have liked Dan.
The TARDIS proves my worries as well, of this could be the cleanest, most sleek, pretty,
Polished.
empty, massive, empty thing
Yeah.
that we're never going to fill with anything full of love. And, you know,
True.
I think we're on a good track. But
Yeah.
We're on a good track.
You've gotta
until
be
I
careful.
see it, I'm not going to get excited.
Yeah. Russell said it's the same old show that you've always loved, and this felt like the same old show. It felt like a new special of that old show that I really liked.
But that old show has grown a lot. Like,
Yeah.
we laugh at Moffat, and Chibnall too. They did have some ideas,
Yeah.
and I just hope that in the hope to get back to 2005 fun, we don't lose all of the good stuff that we got from the 15 or so years of worth of content.
Which I feel hopeful that we won't, just because Russell said that he's never stopped watching. You know?
I don't think they'll ignore canon, but I just want him to be challenging with it. And I think if any of the episodes that we're going to see are going to be challenging, then it's going to be this next one. So we'll see.
Yeah. This next episode for me is that, okay, you've proven that you can do this. You know, you've passed. Now it's time for the distinction. You know what I mean?
And for the genuine article.
Oh. Well, I'll tell you what, James, it's funny you say that, because have you ever dabbled with aliens?
No. Not me.
Zeenat?
Oh, once or twice.
Once or twice. So you have dabbled with aliens.
Yeah.
Do you want to meet someone?
Yeah, go on.
This is a genuine article.
Oh, it's awful.
I just wanted to get really grabby with it today.
Oh, I hate it.
We also want to say a big thank you to our subscribers who make these possible. Charlotte, Zach, Nick, Nathan, Cracker Joe, Solo Andy, Series, Chris, Anastasia, Sean, Ben, Chaos, Zaid, Z, Corin, Eric, and Wolfie. Big appreciation to all of you, and tune in next week for our next adventure in time and space.